Good morning. When I began these weekly meetings and briefings in March, it was done with the intention to keep the community informed and aware of the ever-changing impacts of COVID-19. We continue to reopen, and I'm glad we are doing so in a safe way. We will address this in more detail today. However, these briefings also have a new purpose as our community grapples with the need for additional change and call to action to end racial injustice. I hope you will continue to join me each Wednesday morning in the coming weeks to get the latest information on both of these community impacts. Let's first discuss the latest with COVID-19. Last Friday, the state, including the city, entered stage 2 of a phased reopening plan. As the governor continues to share, our positivity rate is dropping in the state and in Frederick County. We have access to increased testing thanks to additional sites, such as CVS and Walmart within the city of Frederick, and a relaxation of testing requirements. Frederick Health has also moved their site to their new complex at the old State Farm location to expand the number of community members they can serve. We have reduced the immediate impact on our hospital. However, these numbers are possible mainly due to the actions we have been taking collectively as a community to stop the spread. Physical distancing is helping, masks are helping, hand sanitization is critical. As we continue to reopen our businesses, start going back to work, and begin to increase our social gatherings, we must remain committed to these efforts. I also highly recommend all those who attended recent large protests in our city to receive testing as a precaution. Last week, we announced the pop-up dining program for restaurants throughout the city. 5 options are available depending on a restaurant's location and proximity to city amenities and resources. The response from the restaurants has been phenomenal, and the city's Economic Development Department has been working with the restaurants to discuss these options. More than 30 restaurants have applied and subsequently been granted permission to move forward. You have likely seen new sidewalk cafes, new restaurants popping up tables in a nearby parking lot or park. These are all part of this pop-up dining program. Additionally, the safety barriers for the parking lane options are currently being placed. We do have one change to share from last week's parameters regarding the street closure option. Originally, we had announced that Market Street would be closed from Patrick Street to 3rd Street. But after talking to the restaurants in the 200 block of Market and what option they wanted to use, and after hearing from downtown residents, we have adapted that closure. So beginning this Friday, Market Street will only close from Patrick Street to Market Place, which is the road that leads you to the back entrance of the Church Street parking garage before reaching 2nd Street. These closures will be in place from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for the near future. I'm excited to see this come to fruition for our city and our local business owners. Our retail corridors are coming back to life, and that is great to see. At this point, we do not have any additional major city operational changes. The state of emergency is still in effect. Our buildings will remain closed to the public for a little while longer to ensure the safety of city employees and our community. And our efforts to serve you virtually and through drop-off sites and services will continue. Due dates for bills, citations, and payments continue to be delayed until 30 days after the state of emergency ends. I'd now like to shift the discussion to our community's strong response and commitment to the work of ending racial injustice and the energy that is being displayed by our community to ensure voices are heard. Last Monday, FPD Acting Chief Grossman and I addressed the city and denounced the actions of so many across the nation that have done things to take the lives of fellow Americans simply because of the color of their skin and the unconscious biases that exist in our culture. Since that day, we have seen organizations protest on our sidewalks. 4 young leaders in our community organized a march that brought more than 5,000 community members downtown to come together, and additional local activists hosted protests throughout Frederick streets to continue the call for action. I want those who have been involved in these peaceful demonstrations and those who haven't to know that I hear you, I see you. I want the City of Frederick to be part of moving forward and ensuring that everyone understands that Black lives matter. I believe we have started the work in many areas of the city as an organization and employer, but it is clear to me that we must continue to do more and to do better. And to do better requires addressing and examining our practices, from hiring to selecting contractors for city work, from serving the most vulnerable in our community, to ensuring public safety efforts continue to evolve with best practices. I'd like to share with you where we are currently with some efforts and ask for your help to shape how our community can be a leader in creating a place where all neighbors thrive. When I was elected mayor, I knew from my time as a member of the Board of Aldermen that the city, as a major local employer, needed to ensure our practices were fair to all in our community, and that community members had a place in the city as a resident and as an employee. Currently, women are 35.17% of our workforce and 51.8% of the city's population. People of color are 14.9% of our workforce and 45.85% of the population we serve. In 2018, we brought in an outside expert to support our diversity and inclusion efforts for recruitment, hiring, and retention practices. As a result of our beginning efforts in 2019, we adopted a diversity and inclusion plan, which is available at frederickmd.gov/diversity. While these efforts have been slowed due to the impact of COVID-19, we continue to work on our action items in this plan to ensure that the city grows as a workplace that values, affirms, and celebrates the unique strengths and experiences of our employees. We do have additional community engagement opportunities with this initiative. Additionally, the city has been focused on ensuring all businesses have an opportunity to do business with the City of Frederick. Through the work of our Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Review Program panel, based on the recommendations of our DBE panel, at the February 6, 2020 Mayor and Board of Aldermen public meeting, the board approved an agreement with Griffin & Strong PC to conduct a disparity study. The city has expressed a strong desire to strengthen its policies relating to minority and women-owned business participation in city procurement. Current policies are vague, and this study will support our efforts to create policies that require minority and women-owned business participation in our procurement processes where justified. The study is underway now. Also in 2020, the City of Frederick made another commitment to ensure that we are serving all in our community with dignity and comprehensiveness. Through the creation of a Department of Housing and Human Services, the services provided by this department will provide our community's most vulnerable with the connection into our community's fabric of social services and programs. The director's search for this department is underway. More information will be shared for community input soon. We received more than 50 applications for this position, and a steering committee is actively reviewing that candidate list to create a list of finalists. Another pillar in our efforts to be an inclusive city government is the continued work of the Frederick Police Department. It is clear that the way that police departments function is critically important to this broader discussion of racial justice. I, along with Acting Chief Grossman, have heard from many of you over the last week, asking about some of our practices and policies, specifically as it relates to the concept of 8 can't wait and those recommendations. We have submitted our information to the 8 Can't Wait organization for review and inclusion, and all of our reports and policies are available on the city's website through the police department portal. Our General Orders 705 and 720 outline the use of force and the use of deadly force policies for our officers. In these policies, you will find that de-escalation is at the core of our officers' protocols. We have policies that address the prohibition of chokeholds and strangleholds and shooting at moving vehicles. Our city police department has very high reporting standards and a duty to intervene. The FPD does not own military-grade vehicle and only utilizes our riot gear in unique situations. And over the last 7 days, we have not deployed any officers in riot gear. Similarly to the city, its efforts in ensuring the fair and just operations and community interactions have been ongoing. More than a decade ago, the Frederick Police Department became CALEA accredited. CALEA is the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, which holds our department to a voluntary level of national standards and agency policies. We were just reaccredited in March of this year. The data required for CALEA review shows that the FPD has not discharged a weapon as a use of force in the last 4 years. Recruitment efforts at the FPD have also focused on the evolution of a diverse workforce. I share this information in hopes that it will answer many of your questions and offer it as a starting point for conversations and recommendations. The hiring, contracting, and other efforts I mentioned today are not enough, and I am ready to continue to create change within the City of Frederick beyond the city's organizational structure. So what comes next? To continue conversations and offer continued transparency, I've dedicated our June 24th Mayor and Board of Aldermen workshop to discussing the Frederick Police Department's use of force policies and other general orders. During this meeting, the Chief of Police will take questions from the Board of Aldermen and the public. We are still meeting virtually during this reopening phase, but we have the opportunity for you to submit your questions to the Mayor, the Board of Aldermen, and the Police Chief in a public online forum before and during the meeting. And more information about this process will be released today. Additionally, I will be directly asking for the support and help of our local state officials. Some of the changes our community may desire would require state law changes, and the partnership of these representatives will be key to our progress forward. And lastly, transparency and accountability are critical cornerstones to the necessary trust between the community and its government. And it is clear a voice together calling for change, and as a city, I want to be clear that we will not shy away from the tough conversations, the real conversations that need to happen. Through collaboration with our teachers, our human service providers, our healthcare providers, our clergy, our business leaders, and more, the City of Frederick aims to be a catalyst and a convener in this process, all while taking a hard look at how the city has functioned for so long, with so many feeling like they are not a true part of this community. That ends now. Our conversations will continue. Thank you.